may be seated. In Colossians 3, verse 22, Paul writes, "Slaves, obey in everything those who are your earthly masters." And then in chapter 4, verse 1, he writes, "Masters, treat your slaves justly and fairly." And we should be clear that what applied to slaves and masters in the first century equally applies to employees and employers in the 21st century. And I might add, even if you think you have the worst job imaginable, hopefully it's a far cry from being a slave. But this does apply to employers, employees, and I don't want to leave the kids out. It applies to kids as well. When my kids were in school, actually some of them are still in school, we would say it is your job to be a student. And if you have chores around the house, that is your job as well. So hopefully no one is left out this morning. Unless you're a tiny baby, then we'll give you a break. But in this passage, Paul has instructions for both slaves and masters. And both groups were probably surprised by what he had to say. Paul begins by commanding slaves/employees to obey their earthly masters. He tells them to become the best possible slaves that they can be. If you're a slave, that's probably not what you want to hear, but it gets worse depending on your perspective. Paul goes on to say, "Obey not by way of eye service as people pleasers, but with sincerity."